You've been taught to chase shadows, titles, applause, security, control, to accumulate proofs of worth from the outer world as if your divinity were a trophy to be won rather than a truth to be remembered. But the ancients, those whisperers of wisdom who scribed their truths in symbol and silence, left behind another message. They said, all is mind, that the universe, vast and intricate, begins not in the stars, but in the subtle stillness behind your thoughts. The Kybalion's first principle, the principle of mentalism, is not merely a concept to ponder. It is the golden key that unlocks the door behind the veil. It speaks to a reality not observed, but felt that everything you touch, every experience you call life, is a projection of the mind. Not just your personal mind, but the one mind, the source consciousness expressing itself in endless forms. Imagine standing before a mirror. What you see is not the source, it is the reflection. If your expression is angry, the mirror will not smile. If your light is dim, the image will not shine. Yet we so often forget this. We scold the reflection for not being warm, not being safe, not being kind. We try to change it, buying things, forcing outcomes, blaming others, when all that's needed is to soften within. This is not to say the world is unreal. The reflection is a gift. It is a sacred echo. But it is not sovereign. You are. A woman I once knew spent years resenting her job, her partner, her very body. To her, everything seemed misaligned, unfair. Yet no matter how many changes she tried to make externally, the same frustrations reappeared in different forms. One day, in the quiet of dawn, she sat still long enough to hear her own self beneath the noise. She noticed the voice she used to speak to herself, sharp, rigid, doubting. That day, she began a new habit. Not a diet, not a budget, not a checklist, but the simple practice of reverent self-talk. I am the temple. I am the scribe. I am the light behind my eyes. Weeks passed and something curious unfolded. Her partner softened. Her boss grew warmer. Her health subtly began to shift. The mirror was reflecting a new mind. When we say all is mind, we are not reducing life to imagination. We are reclaiming imagination as a sacred force. In Hermetic teachings, the world is a mental construct within the infinite mind of the all. And you spark of that all are not separate. You are the artist and the canvas, the thinker and the thought. You are the dreamer, learning to lucid dream awake. So begin gently, not with blame, not with pressure, but with presence. If your life were a message from your deeper self, what would it be saying? Where are you fighting the mirror instead of befriending it? What story runs beneath your routine thoughts? A simple practice each morning before reaching for your phone or your burdens, place your hand on your chest. Speak inwardly. My mind is the womb of creation. I choose thoughts that honor the sacred. Watch not obsessively, but curiously how the mirror responds. You need not fix the outer world to know peace. Peace is the original state hidden beneath the noise, waiting like still water behind the waterfall. Return to it and let the image catch up to your stillness. This is the first secret of the alchemist to realize that the world is not happening to you. It is happening from you. There is a law, older than temples, older than language. It was not invented, but witnessed by sages in caves, by mystics, in silence by you, in moments when reality suddenly made sense without explanation. The Kybalion names it the principle of correspondence, as above, so below, as within, so without. It sounds simple, but like a well-cut gem, it reflects light differently depending on how you hold it. What this law teaches is that nothing stands alone. There are no isolated realms, no inner worlds separate from the outer dance of circumstance. Your thoughts are not just echoes inside your head. They are invitations sent out into the quantum field. They are blueprints, patterns that magnetize the material to match them. But this is not about blind optimism or positive thinking pasted over wounds. It's about coherence, harmony, the sacred alignment between the garden within and the weather outside. Picture your inner world as a vast landscape. If your soil is seeded with shame, even rain becomes a curse. If it is tilled with love, even drought becomes a lesson. The outer world simply follows suit. It has no choice. It must reflect the frequency of the field it emanates from. There's a man I once met, a school teacher in a quiet village. To the outside world, his life was simple, maybe even small. But when you sat beside him, time slowed. His presence had gravity, like a bell that had been rung in still air. I asked him his secret. He smiled, not as one holding power, but as one remembering truth. Each day, he said, I tend to my inner temple first. I clean the floor of my mind with silence. I light the incense of my intentions. I speak to my thoughts like beloved children. And indeed, his outer life reflected peace, children who learned in joy, a family that sang over supper, a garden that bloomed in unlikely soil. The modern world urges you to skip this step, to act first, plan second, feel later, if at all. But what if your morning routine began not with to-do lists, but attunement? What if you asked, what frequency am I embodying today? What inner weather am I radiating outward like an unseen sun? Because the truth is, you are always broadcasting, always creating. The universe does not respond to what you say. It responds to what you are. And what you are is shaped by what you cultivate within. Let's bring this home with something tangible. Begin a daily ritual, brief, beautiful, and yours. Light a candle, not just for mood, but as a signal. I now enter sacred space. Speak an inner affirmation, not robotic, but devotional. As I align within my life, becomes a mirror of grace. Notice how even difficult situations begin to feel less like punishment and more like poetry messages from your deeper self requesting refinement. And when chaos visits, because it will don't curse the mirror, ask instead, what in me is being asked to grow, to soften, to come into harmony? You are not at the mercy of the world. The world is at the mercy of your inner alignment. This is not ego, it is alchemy, not control, but correspondence. And slowly, gently, you realize the world is not against you. It is responding to you, every moment, every time. This is the second message hidden in the Kybalion's folds, not as a rule, but as a remembrance. that your power begins not in what you do, but in how you be. There is no light without shadow, no summer without winter, no joy untouched by sorrow. This is not cruelty. This is the dance of polarity, the third Hermetic principle. The Kybalion tells us everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. And in this understanding, we are handed not just a truth, but a liberation. For how many of us have been taught to resist half of life's offerings, to fear sadness, avoid failure, suppress anger? We label them bad and try to exile them. Yet in doing so, we give them more power. What we resist persists not because the universe is punishing us, but because it is patient. It will continue, offering us both poles until we learn to balance between them with grace. Imagine the spectrum of heat and cold. Where does one end and the other begin? There is no hard line, only degrees. So too, with emotions, with experiences, joy and grief, peace and fear, love and loss. They are not enemies, but siblings, two wings of the same great bird rising on the winds of consciousness. The alchemist, the Hermetic soul, does not flee from polarity. Instead, they transmute it. They become the silent center between the poles, learning to move across them with awareness rather than being whipped by their swing. This is the art of spiritual weatherworking, to feel fully, but not be consumed. There was a man in deep despair after the death of his mother. For months, he tried to force happiness, to stay positive, to be strong for his family. But the grief thickened. Only when he allowed himself to sit with his sorrow, to honor it without judgment, did something shift. He began writing letters to her, as if she were listening. He cried not in despair, but in reverence. And in time, joy returned, not the forced kind, but the soft joy that emerges from fully grieving. His polarity had been transmuted through presence, not avoidance. So, how do we apply this principle in daily life? First, by noticing. When discomfort arises, pause and ask, what pole am I dancing with? What is its opposite, and can I find the still point between them? If you feel overwhelmed by fear, you need not chase courage. Just lean toward calm. If you're stuck in scarcity, don't force abundance, begin with gratitude. The movement doesn't require a leap, just a shift. Second, by embracing paradox. Life is not a problem to solve, but a paradox to live. You can be grieving and grateful. You can feel fear and still walk forward. The awakened soul is not someone who avoids pain, but one who walks with it hand in hand, knowing it too is sacred. Third, by practicing polarity alchemy. Try this the next time you feel contracted, angry, anxious, numb. Ask yourself, what's the higher octave of this feeling? Not to escape it, but to understand its source. Anger often masks grief. Anxiety often hides unexpressed power. Numbness is the cloak of the overwhelmed heart. Bring light not to kill the dark, but to see what it holds. You are not meant to be stuck at one end of the pole. Life moves. Let it. You are not a statue. You are a current. In the hands of the conscious soul, polarity becomes a palette. With it, you paint your life not in flat tones, but in rich contrasts. With it, you no longer fear the dark, for you understand it is only the other face of the divine. And when you stand in the center, not resisting, not clinging, you become the axis, the still point around which the world turns. This is the third message, the third invitation. Do not escape the dance. Learn to lead it. Life does not move in straight lines. It breathes like a tide. It hums like a heartbeat. There is no arrival, only motion, no final state, only becoming. The fourth Hermetic principle. The law of rhythm reveals that all things rise and fall, swing and return. And in knowing this, the wise soul ceases to resist the rhythm and learns instead to dance with it. You are not stuck, whispers the universe. You are simply in a season. But modern life forgets this. It teaches urgency. It glorifies acceleration. It rewards constancy, as though it were mastery. Yet what tree blooms all year? What tide crashes forever against the shore? Even stars pulse in rhythm cycles of expansion and rest fire and stillness. Why then do we punish ourselves for our own ebbs? For needing pause, silence, softness. The Kybalion says, rhythm compensates. This means that every forward motion will be followed by a backward swing and vice versa. It is not punishment, it is balance. It is the pendulum of consciousness. The deeper your sorrow, the deeper your capacity for joy. The more expansive your ecstasy, the more vital your return to stillness. This principle is not meant to bind you to helplessness. It is meant to awaken your awareness. For when you recognize that life moves in tides, you no longer fear the low. You meet it like a familiar friend. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin asking, "What is this moment preparing me for?" A woman once shared her story with tears in her voice. After months of inner work, her life had blossomed new love, creative clarity, a sense of deep connection. But then, a sudden fall, doubt, fatigue, confusion. She feared she had failed, that her progress was lost. But she hadn't regressed. She had entered a new rhythm. The swing had returned not to punish, but to integrate, like breath, inhale, exhale, expansion, contraction. She was simply learning to carry her light into a deeper place. This rhythm lives in everything, in the waxing and waning of energy, in the rise and rest of creativity, in the pull of desire and the peace of contentment. The master does not seek to freeze the pendulum in one direction. They learn how to ride it with grace. How can we live this truth? First, honor your cycles. Begin by tracking your inner seasons. Notice when you feel expansive and when you feel inward. Don't push against the flow. Plan rest when your energy retreats. Create when it returns. Let life become your metronome, not your master, but your guide. Second, cultivate equanimity. When joy comes, receive it with open palms, but do not cling. When sorrow visits, welcome it as the teacher it is, but do not drown. Say to both, You may stay, but you are not all of me. This is rhythm, mastery, not denial, but devotion to balance. Third use ritual to anchor yourself. The world swings, but you can root. Morning stillness, evening, reflection, breath, prayer, movement. These are your tools. They remind your nervous system that the swing is not chaos but choreography. That you are not a leaf tossed by waves, but the ocean itself remembering its depth. The river does not curse the rocks it flows around them. So too can you move with your life, not in resistance, but in reverent cooperation. You are not separate from rhythm. You are rhythm made flesh. You are the tide, the pulse, the song. So the fourth message of the Kybalion whispers, trust the swing, trust the return, trust the breath of the all as it moves through you. And above all, remember that every winter carries the seed of spring. All things vibrate. From galaxies to atoms, from thoughts to stones, everything pulses in motion, nothing rests. The Kybalion's principle of vibration is not just poetic, it is literal. Ancient and modern wisdom alike converge on this truth. The universe is made not of things, but of frequencies. And you, dear soul, are not just a receiver of these vibrations. You are a generator. When you speak, when you feel, when you think, your frequency shifts. And in that shift, you begin the work of shaping reality. Not through force, but through resonance. Not through effort alone, but through being. We are often taught to fix things by changing the outer circumstances. Yet the Hermetic path whispers a deeper truth. To change your world, first shift your frequency. When you raise your vibration, life rearranges itself around you like iron filings to a magnet. There was a man who carried deep bitterness after a betrayal. Years passed. He became successful on the outside, but hollow within. Love would not stay. Peace would not root. One evening, worn from pretending, he wept, not from weakness, but from surrender. He realized he had been living in the frequency of guardedness, mistrust, and self-sufficiency. That night, he sat in stillness, not asking for anything but change within. "Teach me to soften," he whispered. "I no longer wish to echo what broke me." It didn't happen overnight, but something shifted. His laugh returned. His chest no longer felt armored. People around him began to mirror the softness he had remembered. His outer life did not fix him. His frequency did. Everything is energy, and each energy hums at a different rate. Love is fast and expansive. Fear is slow and contracting. Gratitude, joy, forgiveness. These raise the tone of your being until your entire reality sings in a new key. But this isn't about denying pain or faking positivity. It's about transformation through presence. Vibration responds to truth. If you are grieving, grieve fully. If you are uncertain, be curious. But infuse each state with consciousness. That is what raises its vibration, not its label, but your relationship to it. You might wonder, how do I know what vibration I'm in? Ask yourself, what do I feel beneath my actions? Not the smile you show the world, but the hum in your chest, the energy in your breath. Do you act from love or from proving? Do you rest in faith or push from fear? Vibration is not your mood. It's your tone of being. And how do you raise it? Start small. Beauty is a frequency. So is laughter. So is awe. Sit with music that makes you feel holy. Walk barefoot on the earth. Speak blessings over your food. Practice saying thank you, not just when life is good, but as a statement of trust. And above all, notice who you become in the presence of silence. That is your truest note. You are not at the mercy of what surrounds you. You are a tuning fork in the symphony of the all. And when you strike your purest tone, the universe responds not because it favors you, but because it resonates with truth. This is why the ancients meditated, chanted, sang, not just for peace, but for attunement, to align with the cosmic rhythm, to step into harmony with the divine mind. So ask yourself gently, what am I vibrating today? Not to judge, but to remember that you can shift. That breath is a bridge. That intention is a lever. That every thought is a tuning note and you the musician. The final message from the Kybalion is this: reality is not fixed. It is a song you are singing with the all. Choose your notes with love. Tune your instrument with care. And trust that when you vibrate with truth, the world cannot help but echo your song. You are not here to adapt to the noise. You are here to become the tone that brings others home. You came into this world not as a blank slate, but as a remembering soul. The Kybalion, though ancient in form, speaks to the modern spirit with timeless urgency. It does not demand belief. It invites experience. It does not preach, it reflects. You've now walked the winding path of 5 Hermetic truths, each a key, not just to cosmic understanding, but to inner sovereignty. You've remembered that the world is a mirror of your mind, that your inner state crafts your outer world, that your emotions are invitations, not enemies, that life moves in sacred rhythm, that your very being vibrates into form the life you live. But the journey does not end with knowing. It begins with living. Living as one who does not seek power, but embodies it quietly. Living as one who alchemizes the mundane into the mystical. Living as one who remembers again and again that you are the scribe and the scroll, the star and the stillness beneath it. So go forward, not with urgency, but with reverence. Let your presence be your practice. Let your life become your ritual. Let your heart be the philosopher's stone that turns each ordinary day into gold. And if these words stirred something ancient in you, some glimmer, some ache, some recognition, let it grow. Speak it, share it, tend it. Awaken the alchemist within. The world needs your magic now.